The difference between whether Republicans hold on to the House and the Senate and whether they lose it is probably get out the vote. Whoever can get their voters to get up off the couch and vote in a midterm election, because people don't vote in midterm elections as much as they do in presidential elections. Whoever's more effective in getting people to the polls is likely to take it back, barring some giant disaster. And maybe the giant disaster is the Kavanaugh scandal. Maybe that's going to tip the scale in favor of Republicans and push people to the polls, because we're seeing the same poll in West Virginia. Manchin in West Virginia, he has signaled that he's not interested in voting to confirm Kavanaugh. He hasn't confirmed it, but he's certainly sent out that test balloon. A majority of voters in his state think Kavanaugh should be confirmed. 59% to 30% thought Kavanaugh's testimony was more credible than Blasey Ford's. That's hard for a senator to ignore, I would think, and still win.
Yeah, and he's one of the Democrats that has, I think, maybe the one most likely to possibly vote for Kavanaugh based on his statements. But it depends on what direction the winds are blowing on any given day, where he stands on it. We'll only know when they actually take the vote. But for him, it could be very problematic because the survey, which is again somewhat reliable in its methodology, shows such an overwhelming number, almost 60% support confirming Kavanaugh. What he's doing by voting against it on this is a wonderful issue because it's high profile and it forces many Democrats and liberals to go against the will of their voters, right? And to force them to do that right before an election is disastrous. And there are several senators who are in this situation. They're red state Democrats now facing a very difficult challenge. We see the same thing in North Dakota, the same thing in Montana, where ordinarily, they try to avoid these controversial votes. They try to have them like a year or so before election year, and then they kind of do the little dance where they act like they're on the right, they're conservatives, that they like President Trump, and they have this this show, this theater they put on the last year of right before their election, where they act like conservatives, then they get back to Washington, and they get 5 years of being liberals again. But they can't do that now, or they can't do that so easily. So this has kind of pulled that curtain back on that theater performance and revealed who they really are. And you look at them, Senator Heitkamp in North Dakota, if she votes against Kavanaugh, she's essentially done. Her term in the Senate is over. She'll lose to a very strong challenger in Congressman Kramer. If you look at Montana, John Tester's already in a pretty close race. If he votes against Kavanaugh, very likely he's done. His seat will be taken by State Auditor Matt Rosendale. So this is a disaster. Honestly, the Democrats on the left would have been much better off just having a quiet confirmation where they make their symbolic votes against it and don't make a lot of noise. Because if they weren't making so much noise on the issue, then they probably could have just voted against this guy, voted against Kavanaugh, and no one really would have paid too much attention because he's on the court. But by making it this big, loud issue, drawing so much attention to it, making their votes, putting them under a microscope, they've kind of shot themselves in the foot.